What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 24 driver career mode, and we're here for round number 4 of our Formula 2 season, and it's time for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. We are going to be hoping to come off what has been a pretty good run of form for us. We have had 3 podiums in a row, including 2 wins out of those 3 podiums in the last few races that we have done. We had a P1 finish in the feature race in Saudi Arabia, and then a P1 finish in the sprint in the Australian Grand Prix, and then a P3 in the feature race for Australia. However, it's not looking good as far as Azerbaijan is concerned. I was 3/10 off the nearest car of Jack Crawford in practice, so we're going to have to find some form very, very quickly here if we want any chance of getting ourselves into the points once again here in Azerbaijan. So yeah, we will see whether we can have a better qualifying than we had a race here, but I'm not particularly optimistic because this has always been one of those circuits where I felt like I'm maybe not the fastest around compared to some of the other circuits on the calendar. I used to be a bit of a specialist when it came to BAKU, and then F1 22 came around, and since that point it's been handily one of my weakest tracks on the Formula 1 calendar. We do a 153.1 to start things off, and hopefully we'll be able to improve on that a little bit on the same set of super soft compound tyres. Of course, only 1 compound of tyres available in Formula 2 qualifying, so we're going to have to hope that we get a bit of an improvement here. But I tell you, this wasn't quite as much improvement as I was hoping for. Obviously, it's quite a high tyre deg track, and it's quite a long circuit as well, so it'd be quite difficult to improve on a second lap on the same set of tyres, and as a result you can see we're just bleeding time here all the way to the finish now, and by the time we get there we're basically going to have no improvement whatsoever. And as we come on the run to the line, we're going to cross the line, improved by 0.06 of a second, and unfortunately that was not good enough to get us off the back row of the grid. We will be qualifying in P22 only.
The grid is set then, so that just leaves the race itself. Join us tomorrow where we'll be live with all the action, and until then, goodbye.
Well, we didn't do great, but we didn't get completely blown out like I thought we might have been. We actually did the exact same time as Jahan Daruvala in 21st. Of course, he was the race winner from the last race, and yeah, he just set the time first, which is why he's qualified ahead of us. But yeah, well, it's impossible for us to go backwards, so we're going to have to try and go forwards. Meanwhile, I believe it was Brad Benavidez, my teammate, getting pole position, so it will be a PHM sandwich in the feature race. But we'll have to see what we do now as we get into the sprint race for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix.
So it's all about speed in today's sprint race then. Not very many laps and no chance to get ahead on strategy. Who here today has the raw skill to take them to the top? This is not your usual racing circuit. It provides one of the most complete tests for the field. Sector 1 sports a set of 90-degree corners around the block, if you like. Sector 2 gets even tighter with the old city walls. Sector 3 just turns 16 to negotiate, and then 2.2 kilometers, flat to the floor, full throttle, in 6th gear, all the way to the end. And we welcome you to the Formula 2 commentary box. I'm Alex Jakes. Alongside me for this one, Alex Brundle. It is a sprint race. It is race day. How much can you take from that one-lap pace in to our multi-lap contest today?
You go for a little more, a little earlier, using a bit more of that harder compound of the 2 tyres available per weekend in Formula 2 to try to steal a march. And equally, if you have a bit of a bump, not so much of an issue. You're going to have another go tomorrow.
With some luck, we might just be able to work our way up the field, but we need a good start. Keep it clean, okay?
Well, I'm basically prepared to entirely write off this sprint race, to be perfectly honest with you. 11 laps around the Azerbaijan city circuit, it is going to be pretty difficult to have any real opportunity to get ourselves into the points here today, with only the top 8 scoring points in a sprint race as well. Of course, we have to make our way up 14 positions in 11 laps. I don't really think it's going to happen. The feature race, I think, is where we're going to do the majority of our work here today if we are going to get ourselves into the points, because the top 10 get points in the feature race, of course, and not only that, but also we have the opportunity to make up some positions using an undercut on strategy in a feature race, which we can't do here in the sprint race. So we'll have to see if we can do anything from P22 as the lights come on. and the lights go out. And we've had a good getaway compared to Daruvula at least, so we should be able to make our way up at least into P21. Doesn't look like his MP Motorsport teammate Hauger has had a particularly good start there, but he does dive round the outside of Amory Cordial there. He's going to try and get himself involved there, and Daruvula actually dove around the outside of us, so we're back down into P22 off the start here. We've got Daruvula and Hadjar directly in front of us, and I'm going to have to try and clear these guys nice and quickly if I want to make sure that I don't end up finishing last in this race. We have to try and make decisive moves before the entire race turns into a DRS train. Otherwise, any chance that we might be even not finishing last is going to evaporate. Never mind, getting ourselves into a position where we might score points. I think basically the only thing that might give us a chance of scoring points here today is a red flag or a safety car or something like that. That's about the only thing I can think of that might even potentially offer us an opportunity. As we dive up the inside of both Hadjar and Daruvula, we're going to go 3 wide through this sequence of corners, and having the outside line ends up being the decisive factor there, because it means that we are able to get ahead of both of them, and now we can attack Dennis Hauger up the inside. We're going to try and get the overtake done, and we actually do manage to pull it off up the inside of Dennis Hauger, and we're up into P19 now. So yeah, we're looking pretty good here, and hopefully we'll be able to keep making our way through the field up past the cars in front of us. And whilst I don't think that we're going to have the pace to be able to make up enough positions to get ourselves into the points before the end of the sprint, if we can have a good race, we can improve our rating a little bit. This is a really welcome change in my opinion, this rating system now, because it kind of means that even races where you can kind of write them off a little bit, or maybe you're not going to score great points or anything like that, there is still an incentive to actually push in the race and try and make up positions and work hard to try and do the best you can do. And that was never really a thing in previous years' games. If I was running in P15 with 6 laps to go or something like that, I would just be like, well, this race is done. There's no point really even trying to push particularly hard to try and make any overtakes. But now we can actually look to go for some slightly more decisive moves, like this move up the inside of Amory Cordial. He gives us just enough room on the inside to squeeze through, and we do exactly that up into P18 now. We're going to try and see if we can close down the cars in front. I think my target today, I've seen Clement Novalak is in P15, and I mean, that he is somebody that I am very keen on beating at every possible juncture, so we're going to try and get ahead of Novalak nice and quickly if we can. But we have been set an objective to overtake Boschung before the end of lap 7, or before the end of lap 6 I should say, start of lap 7. But as we make our way towards the end of lap 4, you can see that we're basically already over his gearbox. We're right there, and we should be able to maybe make this overtake. We're going to bait him to defend to the inside, do the dummy on him, and then try and go around the outside into turn 1, and enabling us to brake a little bit later on the outside has possibly got us to get away with this move. However, we're still wheel to wheel going through the next corner, and you can see that maybe I just took the line a bit too tight there, I don't know, but either way, Boschung maybe should have backed out of it. We now have a bit of front wing damage that we're going to have to try and contend with for the rest of the race, and not only that, but all that battling has put me out of this DRS train. Jack Crawford is now 1.6 seconds up the road from us as we hit the inside of the wall there again, and you can see that there was a bit of front wing on the racing line there, which wasn't mine because it was already there. I'm not sure whose that was, but I think somebody at some point has sustained some damage in this race. But yeah, either way, we just have to try and hold on to the position now, because Jack Crawford in this DRS train is just braking further and further away from us. Ralph Boschung is trying to go for a move on us, and he almost pulled that off, but we are going to try and dive back up the inside of him now. We get a massive oversteer moment there as we get a little bit too aggressive on that curb potentially, and it's going to still be wheel to wheel between myself and Boschung now as we go through the next couple of corners as well. We really just want to try and squeeze them out as quickly as we possibly can, but you can see I was really wrestling with the car. I was really hacking the steering wheel back and forth. At times driving cars in this game feels more like rallying than it feels like actually driving a Formula 1 car. The car just does not feel planted to me at all. I really struggle for grip and for traction out of some of these corners. And yeah, it is a difficult situation, but yeah, we will see whether we can hold on to the position in spite of all these issues. that I am having. But Ralph Boschung once again is getting very close into lap 7, and yeah, he's going to try and get up the inside if he can, but he can't quite make the move on this occasion, I don't think. But he is going to try and have another go now, and he was almost a full car length ahead, but we're going to try and dive back around the outside of him. I can't help but feel like if I'd given him that much room on the outside on the occasion where he gave us the front wing damage, we wouldn't have got the front wing damage, and we might still be able to be racing with Jack Crawford in front. But he's now 5 seconds up the road from us, so I think this is pretty much as good as over this race now. You know, P17 I think is the absolute maximum we're going to be getting from this. I'm just going to have to try and hold off Boschung and Cordeal if I can. Lap number 8, they've given us another target to not damage the front wing until the end of lap 10. Should be a fairly straightforward one to do. You know, the front wing damage I don't really think was my fault to begin with, and as we make our way towards the end of lap 10, you can see that the objective is still there, which means I clearly didn't fail it, which means that you know, we should be easily capable of passing the objective now, and that would be a little bit more of a rating boost for us. You know, I'm really enjoying these in-race objectives. They're kind of spicing up races that are a bit more boring. You know, we're getting these objectives that they're setting for us. They're also setting you know, like targets overall for the races and things like that, which are you know, enabling us to kind of, you know, just give us a purpose for racing, even if we're not in a competitive position, which is something that I am happy with. Obviously, this has been a disappointing race. It kind of all fell away from us in qualifying, to be honest. If we'd have had any chance of scoring points today, we would have had to have had an absolute miracle. But, you know, there's still one more race. The feature race is going to be the one where I feel like there's going to be more of an opportunity to get ahead of some of the cars in front on strategy. If we can pull off a bit of an undercut on them, stay in the DRS train until that point, then maybe we could get ourselves sort of into, you know, P9, P10, something like that. I don't envision that we're going to be scoring big points this weekend, but anything we can do to try and defend our championship lead will be welcome. Jack Doohan got the victory here in the sprint today, but for us it is going to be P17, unfortunately. So yeah, like I said, disappointing result, but a lot of positives to take away from the driving itself. I'm pretty happy with my racing overall. It was Victor Martins picking up driver of the day there, and yeah, we will go again now for the feature race.
So Virtuosi have won it, and what a great race it was.
Feisty young drivers reverse the grid and send them with no pit stops. There's always going to be a bit of chaos, Jakesy, but they dealt with it really well.
And here are our podium drivers today. After that excellent race, they've excelled here as they so often do, and it's a well-deserved victory. Virtuosi then are on top today.
So it's Jack Doohan taking P1 here today, and Victor Martins takes P2. He actually drives for a different team to Jack Doohan. That's how confusing the driver academy system is in Formula 2. And then it is Zane Maloney, the boy from Barbados, as they love to call him. He has completed the podium in P3 there. And yeah, we're just going to have to see what unfolds in the race tomorrow. Hopefully maybe a bit of chaos that allows us to get into the points.
After all this drama, you would be mad not to join us for the next race. We hope to see you then. Take care.
Well, a little bit of solace I can take from this race is that Ayumu Awasa only scored 2 points. He's my closest rival in the Drivers' Championship. Daruvala also all the way down in P22. A bit of a stinker for MP Motorsport, which is good news for us in the Constructors' Championship as well, because they are the team that were ahead of us off the back of, I believe it was 1st and 4th in the feature race in Australia. Daruvala obviously picking up the win on that occasion. But yeah, just overall, I feel like I said, the qualifying is really what let us down. I do feel like there was a bit more pace in the car than we showed. If I just did a slightly better first lap, then maybe we wouldn't have been finding ourselves down in P22. We could have been, I don't think we would have been particularly high up, but we could have been in a position where it at least feels like we're not so far back that we can't fight from it, you know? Like in Bahrain, for example, when we were P16, I ended up coming home in the feature race in P4. If I make up that many positions in the feature race tomorrow, that's still only P10, and that's only 1 point, which, you know, 1 point is 1 point, but you know, I feel like really it's just all going to be for very little gain, anything that we do tomorrow. So it is mostly just going to be about trying to improve my driver rating, trying to you know, protect my chances of getting into Formula 1 as much as I can, especially because, like I said in the last video, there are going to be a rumour mill that is starting to swirl a little bit, involving certain teams that are going to be letting drivers go at the end of next season, or the end of this season, I should say, which, you know, could potentially provide an avenue for whoever the champion of the Formula 2 season is into Formula 1. But obviously, if Ayumu Iwasa beats me to the title, or if anyone else beats me to the title, then we will be having a very different conversation to the one that we are having now, potentially. And I just think that you know, it's still a pretty long season left to go. You know, we can't write this off as, like, you know, this race has potentially changed the championship, because I'm pretty sure I'm still leading the standings off the back of this race. Obviously, with next race that might not be the case anymore. But this is only round number 4 of a 14 round calendar, I should say, 28 race calendar. So yeah, there will still be another 20 opportunities for us to score points between now and the end of the season, even if I don't score points in the next race. So for me to say that it's not going to work out may be a little bit too pessimistic.
BAKU never fails to disappoint fans of Formula 2, so hold on tight. The cars are set on the grid, and any moment we'll be starting today's race. Welcome to Azerbaijan. This is not your usual racing circuit. It provides one of the most complete tests for the field. Sector 1 sports a set of 90-degree corners around the block, if you like. Sector 2 gets even tighter with the old city walls. Sector 3 just turns 16 to negotiate, and then 2.2 kilometers, flat to the floor, full throttle, in 6th gear, all the way to the end. So before the off, let's remind ourselves of yesterday's results with a look at the starting grid. A fantastic effort from Brad Benavides yesterday puts him on pole position. And it's Roman Stanek in P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Behrman, for sure. Ayumu Iwasa, Vesti, Maloney, Pourchaire, Martins, Jack Doohan, Leclerc, Correa, Enzo Fittipaldi, Kushmaini, Novalak, Crawford, Boschong, Amory Cordial, Hauger, Hajar, Deruvala, and Robinson. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's get down to the track. It is the Formula 2 race. It is time to introduce you to Alex Brundle. I'm Alex Jakes, and we've got changeable weather out there today. That's making for some nervous team personnel down in the paddock, down in the pit lane.
Well, uncertainty is what strategy is all about, but it absolves the teams from the responsibility of running both compounds of tyre. They might have to use that wet tyre, of course, and then the question is, where do those crossovers lie between the wet and dry conditions?
Back of the grid, not great, I know, but let's just try and use the first lap to push your way up the order.
Well, the projected strategy was saying that we should do 7 laps, but the personalised one actually thought that my tyre wear was good enough to do 8 laps on the super soft tyres, which means that there is only one logical way to approach this, and it's to do 6 laps on the super soft tyres. I know what you're thinking. How does that make any sense? And the answer is the undercut. I have banged on about this so much that if you guys don't know at this point, I honestly am questioning, have you even been listening to the things I've been saying in these videos? If this is your first time here, obviously that's an entirely different story. But yeah, the undercut. The undercut is the most powerful thing in a Formula 1 game at the moment. It was on last year's game, and it will be on this year's game. If you're having a difficult race, you're stuck in a DRS train, and you know, you're worried that you're not going to be maximising the amount of points that you could potentially score, go for the undercut, because it will literally change the entire race. And I'm hoping that's exactly what's going to happen here in the feature race as well. But we'll see what we can do as the lights come on. And the lights go out once again as we switch to the replay camera here, and from the back we're going to now try and see how many positions we can make up on the opening lap here today. If it's more than 3, I will be very happy, and already it seems like we've made up 3 positions. We've already got ahead of one of I believe that is Hajar in the Red Bull liveried car, and now we're going to try and get ahead of Deruvala and Hauger, the 2 MP Motorsport teammates, 3 abreast through the turn 2 there, and that is a very dangerous move to go for, but I think we've just about managed to pull it off, and we're going to see if we can get ahead of any more cars here. It's Boschung and Cordeal directly in front of us at the moment. A little bit too far ahead for us to really have any opportunity to get ahead of them, but they're going wheel to wheel as well, maybe holding each other up. Maybe there'll be room for us to try and go for a move on them at some point, not through the next corner, of course, but now we're going to try and move to the inside and try and muscle some of them out of our way if we can. We're going up the inside of Ralph Boschung now. We're going to have the outside line to the next corner. He goes a bit hot over the curb, and that almost causes us to get a bit of damage from him, but we do manage to narrowly avoid him, and now we dive up the inside of Amory Cordeal as well. I believe that is Jack Crawford now directly in front of us in another Red Bull livery car, and I believe this means that we are up to P17, and now we've just got to try and stay with Jack Crawford and see if we can get ahead of him at an opportune moment to do exactly that as we ride back on board with us now with the TV cam. You can see that the gap to Jack Crawford is already 0.7 of a second. Now remember, DRS, even though it should be enabled on lap 2, because of a what I will describe as a development oversight in the game, which, you know, that does happen from time to time, the DRS gets enabled on lap 3. So unfortunately, we're going to have to try and stay with him for a couple laps to stay in that DRS range and you know, try and be a part of the train to eventually pull off a big undercut on the cars in the train. Nobody will be boxing before lap number 7, I don't believe. We're going to be boxing on lap number 6. So even a 1-lap undercut around a circuit like this, that's going to be worth probably about 2 seconds, you would have to imagine. So if we can pull off a 2-lap undercut on some cars, that'll be worth 4 seconds. You see where I'm going with this. So yeah, I'm pretty optimistic about our chances of maybe getting ourselves into the points with a big enough undercut, but we have to stay in the train. That is the most important thing right now, is to make sure that we are part of the DRS train when it arrives. We make our way towards the end of lap number 2 now, and you can see we have stayed in that DRS range to Jack Crawford, but already on lap 2 I was starting to struggle on these super soft tyres. Such was the nature of the tyre degradation in the super soft tyres today. You know, the mediums honestly felt pretty good in the sprint race, but you know, the quicker I can get off these super soft tyres, the better, I honestly think, because we are falling further and further back from Jack Crawford, and well, we've actually fallen out of that DRS range now, despite the fact that we were in DRS to him beforehand. We just can't quite seem to stay there. We've managed to pull our way back into it for now, but are we going to fall back out of it before we get to the next DRS zone? I think the answer might be yes. And you can see just about the gap is too big, I think, for us to be in that DRS range. Am I right? Or I'm not quite sure. I don't know when the... Yeah, okay, we do actually have the DRS on this occasion. But he's still pulling away more and more with this DRS. You can see the gap now over 1 second. So I'm going to have to gain a 10th on him through this next corner if we want any hope of being in the DRS for the next DRS zone. And, well, we had a bit of an oversteer moment there, and you can see I've fallen out of the DRS range now, unfortunately. So, yeah, this may be over for us now in terms of this beautiful undercut I was hoping to pull off. We may have to prey on something else, like a safety car or something like that now, as Amory Cordeal makes a very trivial overtake on us. He just had way more straight line speed than we did. I don't know what it is with the AI, but they seem to be super powerful in the straights at the moment, and we do get an in-race objective to get past Amory Cordeal up into P17. However, I can't help but imagine that is going to be postponed when we go into the pit lane at the end of lap 6, unless we can get ahead of Cordeal before that point. That's going to be about the only opportunity we're going to have to actually you know, complete that objective. But as we make our way towards the end of lap 6, you can see that Cordeal went up to join the DRS train that extends all the way to Brad Benavidez in first at the moment. And we are going to be coming into the pit lane at the end of lap 6, and lo and behold, exactly what I said would happen has happened. The objective has been postponed, and we won't have to worry about that too much. It's not going to be a negative mark against us now in the rating adjustments, but it also, of course, won't be a positive mark against us. It will just simply be a thing that never happened, I suppose. As we come into the pit lane, we're going to be putting on those medium compound tyres, and now the next 2 laps are going to be absolutely critical. This is out-lap critical moments right now, as we try to pull off an undercut on as many cars as we possibly can. Cordeal was 2 seconds up the road from us, so what we've got to do now is we've got to try and close down him and Crawford, and I believe Novalak was directly ahead of him. And at the end of lap 7, you can see there are a few cars coming in here, including Crawford. So yeah, this is going to be the moment right here. If we don't make up many positions, then the race is probably going to have to be one that we're going to write off in terms of points once again. And as we come on our run through turn 1, you can see that Jack Crawford is just too far ahead for us to even think about having pulled off an undercut on him or anything like that. 1.7 seconds is the gap to him. So yeah, I think it might be over here potentially. Obviously there'll be a brand new batch of cars coming into the pit lane at the end of lap number 8. They usually do them in 2 phases. I'm basically the only car that doesn't pit on the 2 laps that everybody else pits on, because I try and go for this particular undercut every single time. You'd think people would have cottoned onto it by now, but yet they don't seem to have done that. And we actually come out ahead of Juan Manuel Correa in the Van Amersfoort car, but we don't come out ahead of Amory Cordial, which I was incredibly surprised about, given that we had a 2-lap undercut on him, and he was only 2 seconds ahead of us when we came into the pit lane. You would have thought that we would have at least been able to pull off an undercut on Cordial and probably Novalak as well, but no, we are in P17 once again. And well, unless we can make our way through this DRS train, this is going to be the best result that we can get now. We're on 1 lap older tyres than everyone else as well, or 2 laps in the case of some of the cars in front and behind me. So yeah, I think we're probably just going to have to write this one off as another P17. It's going to be 2 P17s this weekend. We have an objective to set a particular lap time before the end of lap number 10. So either this lap or next lap, we're going to have to do that 1:55.525 target. And well, I think that should be fairly achievable looking at our best lap time so far. It's a 1:55.3, so as long as we're not too much slower than that, we should be okay. And as we make our way towards the end of lap number 9, you can see that indeed that is the target met with no real qualms whatsoever. But still, this DRS train is pretty substantial here. Amory Cordial is very, very far in front of us, given that we're in a DRS train, 0.6 of a second there. But now, actually, at the end of lap number 14, finally, after basically the entire final third of the race, we may have an opportunity to get ahead of Amory Cordial here. So it's going to be now or never, basically. And I'm not going to lie, he was definitely weaving there. Every time I moved to go and like try and get myself into a pocket of space, Amory Cordial would cover it off. And you can't do that. So realistically, Amory Cordial, I feel like, should have had a penalty here. I'll let him go this time because we did nudge him up the back a little bit there. But yeah, unfortunately, it just wasn't really what we were hoping for today. I was hoping that the undercut would be a bit more substantial, but it didn't really do anything. So yeah, that is basically going to be the end of the race here today. And unfortunately, with Roman Stanek winning the feature race, it is going to be another P17 for us. And yeah, I mean, we're just going to have to try and come back a bit stronger. Next race is going to be the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix in Imola. And I'm going to have to hope for a much better showing compared to what we just had over the 2 races in Azerbaijan.
It was a tough race at times, but they've held on to take a great victory for Trident today.
When life feeds you lemons, drive like that. Awesome stuff to come back from what was a really difficult start to the race.
Our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations, and it's going to be Trident picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for coming out on top in that amazing race.
So it will be Roman Stanek picking up the victory in Formula 2 here in the Azerbaijan feature race. Richard Verschoor gets another podium in this season. He's been remarkably consistent. It's another P2 for him, and Brad Benavides will be a bit of a bittersweet feeling for him, I imagine. You know, he obviously does get his first podium in Formula 2, but could have been a race win for him. He had the pole position, and maybe will be feeling like he could have done a bit more.
After all this drama, you would be mad not to join us for the next race. We hope to see you then. Take care.
So here's the confirmed order. Ayumu Iwasa ended up finishing in P4 with fastest lap, so he grabs 13 points. However, 13 points is one too few for him to tie me on points, so we do continue to lead the Drivers' Championship at the end of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix by 1 point to Ayumu Iwasa, who now sits on 68 points. And as a result of Brad Benavides having a great weekend and MP kind of dropping the ball a little bit, it will in fact be us taking the lead of the Constructors' Championship as well. So a great result from Brad Benavidez, and basically exactly what we needed to get ourselves into a position to be fighting for the Drivers' Championship. Obviously, Arthur Leclerc, the other driver in the Dams car, not doing enough to support his teammate Ayumu Iwasa right now, as they sit a bit further down in the Constructors' Championship. But yeah, it would be nice if we could bag the Constructors' Championship for PHM. Obviously, it's a team that I don't think has had much success in Formula 2 so far in real life. You know, their driver lineup last season, in real life, of Roy Nissany, Brad Benavidez. Like I said, no disrespect to the two of them, but they were far from the fastest drivers on the Formula 2 grid. I think this season they're doing a little bit better, from what I understand. I can't remember who their driver lineup is. I know that Joshua Dirksen is one of them, the Paraguayan driver, which is pretty exciting to see a driver from a nation that is typically rather unrepresented in motorsport, generally speaking. But I think he got a podium at one point, but I don't think that they've had a win yet. And like I said, it escapes me currently who their second driver is, apart from Dirksen. It's nice to be able to bring race wins to a team that's not really experienced that yet. It's nice to see that Brad Benavidez is starting to pull his weight a little bit as well. You know, this was a feature race he got a podium in, don't forget. So this was legitimately, worthy of quite a bit of merit from Benavidez. It's not just, he qualified 10th or something like that and then managed to hold on to a decent points finish in a sprint race or something like that. He actually did get the pole position. So things looking up for the team. And for me, I think this is just a bit of a blip on the Formula 1 calendar for us. It didn't help also that I was obviously racing on the highest difficulty that we've raced on for quite some time, 99 AI difficulty, and I meant to turn it down for the second race, but it just totally slipped my mind when I did it. So we were racing for 99 for both of these, that means that when we go to Imola for the next race, we will be on 97, bumping it down a couple points to just try and get ourselves into a position where we can hopefully fight for at least some good points, if not the race win, and all the good stuff that's gonna increase our championship lead and that stuff. But we do improve our driver rating to 70 now, so we are looking pretty good here. I definitely think that we're getting ourselves into a position where Formula 1 teams are going to start taking notice of us a little bit and being impressed with the caliber of our performance. But we still will have a lot to do, and there's still a long way to go in this season as well, of course. There's still another 10 race weekends, 20 races left to go, and we'll have to see if we can continue delivering strong performances and bounce back from this Azerbaijan Grand Prix. But that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.